Hey everyone, hope you're well. This is CoinsKid, just going on to Bitcoin. But the CoinsKid cruise, is Bitcoin on its way to 120k? Now, I was looking at this over a month ago with you. We're looking at a couple of key charts to build the confluence and the probability of this particular scenario playing out. And I think right now there may be a little bit of confluence in a potential pattern that we're looking at. And I've posted this to the CoinsKid crew in the Discord right there, okay? I want to take a look at the futures blocks with you and then we'll dive into the Bitcoin chart, okay? So yesterday there was a trigger warning on a little block here on a crypto that it went red, and like I said to you, extreme greed in the futures crypto blocks right there. That's down currently around about 19% in the last 24 hours. So if you see something go red, increased probability of a big drawdown. And we traded one of these, I think it was last week, on Mask, and right now we've got another one here in AXL. Okay, so let's dive into the futures block to see the state of the futures block, and then we'll jump into the Bitcoin video. Okay, looking at crypto futures blocks, we've still got Bitcoin Cash that's pushing up, and I'm going to short that as soon as that flips red. I'm shorting that, and ICP as well. I'm looking at these coins equally. BGB is pushing up this morning. Uni has been doing really well, and obviously Aave. So you can see the top end of the market right now is pushing into a state of optimism, into greed. And I think if we start to see blocks flip red, boom, we've got to short it. And this is how we make the money shorting this market. Okay, we trade the ranges. We don't just buy and hold on. We go short, we go long on this channel. And this is something I've taught you over the years. Okay, so let's dive into the Bitcoin chart right now, so what you can see. But I've got my eyes on Bitcoin Cash, BGB, Uni, Aave and ICP for a short over the next few days. Okay, so I'll keep you updated as best I can in the Discord. I'm going to get a notification system out for this. Once we see something flip red, boom, you get a notification, look at the charts, bearish divergence, boom, high probability of a short playing out. Let's dive into the Bitcoin chart, see what we can see. Okay, so looking at Bitcoin on the 5-day time frame, I think we may be about to approach the acceleration phase in this bull market that spells the end of the bull market here for Bitcoin. At that point we need to see the fall in the Bitcoin dominance. We need to see Tether dominance breaking down, and obviously most importantly we've got to see Bitcoin starting to break out this range high here. Now, one key thing that I look at with yourselves and we're looking at for a very long time is the RSI. So if we take a look at the RSI on the 5-day time frame and we drop a horizontal line on, you can clearly see in 2017 that was your top. Okay, slam bang, and in 2021, look, you've got the same top where you ran into that level there, around about 93.19, and we've not hit it yet in any of these impulses that have come up for Bitcoin. We're nowhere near where, on the 5-day time frame, you were, extreme overbought conditions, and then look at that. So this was this high here, then you come back and then you start to come up again, but you're creating that bearish divergence. So it was over as soon as you tagged that white line on the 5-day time frame. You were beginning to spell the end of the bull market, and it's at this point, you look at the altcoins, you look at the Tether dominance, you look at basically the Bitcoin dominance as well. It's waterfalling, it's breaking down, and we don't see it in any of these impulses. Where Bitcoin's come up, we're not seeing that big drop in the Bitcoin dominance, which comes towards the end of the cycle like it did there and like it did there. So we keep an eye on this target 93.19 on the 5-day time frame. If we start to see an acceleration here and we start to see the run towards 120k and we start to push through that, then obviously we're in price discovery. We can only lay down the fibs, but we could keep an eye on 93.19 on the 5-day time frame. If we snag that and we're starting to see the waterfall dominance, we're starting to see the Tether dominance breakdown, the Bitcoin dominance breakdown, then that's it. You're in the end phase of this particular cycle where you do start to see the acceleration to the upside in Bitcoin, and a lot of them altcoins play catch up because this is typically what they do towards the end of the cycle. They're laggards basically. So equally there is a bit of a trend line in the RSI on the 5-day time frame. If you take a look at the moment from this pivot point here and this pivot point here, we do have some kind of neckline, don't we? So we need to see that broken, to be honest with you, because this is creating a bearish divergence, and what we don't want to see is a rejection at that neckline, which will cause a triple bearish divergence. Now we could look at this as some kind of rising channel as well, some kind of rising wedge where we start to come up like this. If we break this range, okay, and don't hit a triple bearish divergence where Bitcoin does something like this, okay, it comes up into this neckline around about 163k, and we start to snag this neckline, then it could be a short opportunity. But if we start to break it out and take it out, which I've seen in many charts, then obviously we're looking pretty tasty to get to that end game right there. So what goes up must come down. I'll try and find a support and resistance for you, but at the moment I think what we've gone through, and it's just simple price structure, is basically bull market structure, not bearish market structure. Now by bearish market structure I mean that basically you drop and you channel up. What we've got is break up, channel back, break up, channel back, break up, channel back, break up, channel back. We've not seen any drop and a channel coming back up, only only on the lower time frames, which we traded bear flags and things like that on the lower time frames. But at the moment, on the macro time frame, on the 5-day time frame, we're breaking out, falling back, breaking out, bump and run, breaking out, WXY, diamond bottom at the bottom, which we traded for anyone that remembers. Then we broke up into December. We've got this beautiful expanded flat falling wedge, which is no different from this macro falling wedge and this little falling wedge just here, and boom, we're breaking out. So I'll always try and find the opportunities for you, but on the macro, Bitcoin's looking incredibly bullish until it's not. But the minute we create bearish market structure, that is it. You know, your bearish market structure, you're coming down, you're flagging back up, you're in a bear market. So at the moment, we're in a bull market. We're making high highs and high lows, and the price structure is corrective back, overlapping zigzaggy waves after an impulse to the upside. So how can we be bearish on this particular chart? So obviously I think a bear market will come, but you know, we could be looking at some kind of channel here where we get rejected at the top with a triple bearish divergence, or we break this channel. So all eyes on this potential channel. This could be some kind of rising wedge further down the line, okay, that basically does something like this. So you come up into one point of resistance, go back into support, third point resistance, come back into support, then you break again towards the end of the year, and that's it. You know, you've got your whopping boom, boom, boom. You come up like this, get rejected, which is basically this neckline just there. You come back, then you break out to the 93 level, and that's it. You hit the top of the bull run like you did there, and like you did there, the end game. So let's dive into the 4-hourly time frame right now, because there is a potential pattern that's a little bit of confidence, that 120k target that I've had for a very long time with yourselves. Let's dive into the 4-hourly right now, okay? So taking a quick look on the daily before I do zoom in on the 4-hourly with a crystal ball indicator. Now this is an indicator you can get into your charts. Just go to CoinsKid.com, go down to the settings. By default it's 76 days, okay, and this is what it's programmed for, but you can obviously tinker with it. This works on all the time frames. You can zoom in on the 4-hourly, the 5-day, whatever, and it will populate on your chart basically. So it's tracking it to a T at the moment, isn't it? If you look at your peaks and your troughs, look at this, beautiful, and you look at your peak just there, and you got a trough just there, and you're breaking a range, and you got another peak, and you know, you sort of take the range out. You know, what is this doing? Bitcoin's breaking out with the range basically. So at the moment we're doing really well. You know, if we're just tracking this and just relying on this as a correlation and a guide to the future, then it's playing out so far, okay. And even more zoomed in on the lower time frames, it's working even more, okay. So basically there's your peak, there's your peak, there's your bottom, there's your bottom. You're breaking out, Bitcoin's breaking out, and this is something I'm relaying to you all the way down here. We've got a clue because this was populated. This was showing us that come late May, June, we're breaking the range basically. But as we roll into June, you know, you've got this pullback in liquidity, and this is why the videos in mid-May were showing you, and it was on the thumbnails, a correction's coming. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up, and because of the liquidity being withdrawn, I anticipated, you know, a guide, a clue, because of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up as well, that we would see some kind of pullback here, especially for Bitcoin, and that's exactly what we've got right now. So if we're expecting this and zoom in on the 4-hourly time frame, you can clearly see at the moment, you know, Bitcoin's ramping up off this bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right now you've seen some kind of 1, 2 into a 3, which is this pivot point here, come back in a 4, and you break out in a 5, which is that pivot point there, and then again you've got a 3-wave move in liquidity, which is your ABC coming back. So it's tracking it like an absolute boss, which is ridiculous, okay. I don't know how it's working, but it's working somehow, and we're just able to look at this as some kind of correlation between peaks and troughs here for Bitcoin. I mean, look at this drawdown liquidity, look at that drawdown for Bitcoin, okay. So at the moment, if we're just respecting this correlation, you know, we should be looking at it as, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then, you know, come next week we begin to correct, okay, we begin to have some kind of correction. So at the minute I am looking for short opportunities, not necessarily on Bitcoin but many other altcoins, because they're extremely volatile, and what goes up, if you do start to see 5 waves up and a red block on the futures block, then it is increased risk. You know, you're taking on your buying at that level, you've got an increased risk of a pullback, and this is what I like to trade. So this is why I create that system. If you want to get the system, go to CoinsKid.com. If a block flips red and you see 5 waves up with bearish divergence, you short it. Really is that simple, and I've taught you that, okay. So stay tuned for the updates. I'll try and get them out for you in the Discord if I do spot any red blocks. So right now, if we're just tracking this from this ABC correction where we bottomed here in June, we come up in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in liquidity, which is crazy. We come up in a 1, 2, 3 at the moment, having a 4 pullback and then a 5 breakout. If we can break out right now, it looks as though we've got a correction towards, you know, the next couple of weeks. Monday the 16th, it looks as though we come down, and that's it, you know, and then you go again. So you possibly got a range break, back test onto this previous pivot high as support, and then, you know, you can't continue to show here. So at the minute we don't see liquidity, the crystal ball breaking down significantly like we've seen at previous pivot points. But at some point, if the crystal ball does begin to do something like this, okay, like it did there, then that's where we're going to get out. Really simple, probably silly relying on it, and I obviously want to see a little bit more structure and data in the charts, and RSI levels and things like that in the future. But so far we're tracking this to a T, and we're trading it like an absolute boss and making a lot of money along the way. Hope you understand that update. There is a potential pattern here, some kind of cup and handle pattern like this that takes us to that level, 120k. But if we continue to show, I'll keep an eye on this neckline in the future, okay, and obviously the RSI in the 5-day time frame. Hope you understand that update. Stay obsessed on, stay tuned. Take care everyone, back to an update on Bitcoin. Bye bye.